Good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased to be here in front of you and want to give you a brief view of why we're in corporate venture capital. A view from 31,100, just to keep it interesting. Innovation, it's in our DNA. JetBlue, for those of you who don't know us, we carry about... Sounds like I'm getting out. We're only number 6 in the US, but we do about 100 cities. Thank you. 100 cities and growing, and we've only been going 19 years, so we're relatively speaking a startup, and we were a private equity startup at that. Who knows what changed in the world in 2007, besides the economic crisis? This lady is showing us the iPhone. The iPhone has made a huge difference in pretty much everything that we're doing here. And some people have referred to this in the earlier presentation. Who were the top companies in 2007 and who were the top companies this year? And this is of last week. Sometimes Berkshire Hathaway gets in at the bottom. Depends on what Mark Zuckerberg has said that day. But if you want to remain relevant, you want to be a big company, a successful one, how do you keep yourself innovating? This is about that. And there are many ways that companies innovate. We innovate in products and services all the time. I'm sure all of your companies do the same, but how do you do that? Do you do it radically enough to make a difference to the way that your consumers are changing? And the answer is probably not quite. So whereas you need to continue making that innovation in incremental fashion to the products and services you already have, how do you get to the new things that are going to make a difference to your future? And this is why corporate venture is there, as an addition, not a replacement for the innovation that you do internally. Corporate venture is a force multiplier. It allows you to take a certain amount of money, invest it into a number of startups, a few of whom will succeed, but the $100 million fund, or whatever the number is that you have, gets multiplied by all the other investments that go into those same companies, giving you the chance of a very big return, both financially and strategically. We think there are a number of technologies out there today that will have a similar impact to that of the iPhone. We do not invest in any of these technologies. What I mean to say is we're investing in solutions. We're investing in innovative ideas. These technologies may empower those, but we don't invest in them for the sake of the technology. Blockchain is a very interesting one for us in the airline and aviation industry because we have a large number of parties that we work with on a regular basis. Some of them known to us, some of them not known to us. Blockchain is a way of distributing information in a trusted manner that allows us to reduce the inefficiencies that are in the value chain, reduce prices, reduce costs, and effectively make more money. You may not know, but the average global airline makes less than $10 per passenger per flight. That is not much of a margin. Anything that you can do to improve that is worth something. Biometrics is a way of also reducing inefficiency, but in the way that people use transportation. We have 2 trials going on right now, one in New York, one in Boston, where you can board your flight using your face. We know that the Chinese are very big on biometrics. Biometrics is a very interesting example because it's an example of a technology that requires everybody in the value chain to be in agreement. The customer, the airline, the airport, the government, and so on. Very little works in our ecosystem if we don't have everybody on board, and I suspect that the same is probably true for yours. AR, VR is something which we think is coming. Imagine if I have to train my crew on a new type of airplane, I need a new type of airplane to be there for them to train on that. If I can replace that using AR or VR, that's a huge win because each of those airplanes costs literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And then AL or machine learning, AI or machine learning is simply a way of getting information out of the data that we mostly already have and developing actionable insights that we can use to improve our service. What we're doing is investing in companies that can find us answers using these technologies. And 50% of the companies out there today that are considered to be unicorns have a corporate venture capital backer, at least one. And so the world has changed. So what do? We look for startups wherever we can find them. We incubate and invest in them. The incubation for us is not so much that we're giving them office space, but more that we're tutoring them about how our industry works. If you have the choice of taking money from me or from somebody at Kleiner Perkins or perhaps at Sequoia, you would only take my money if you believe that I can be helpful to you. And I can do that in two ways. One is I can be a customer. So you can work with JetBlue, we'll do a proof of concept with you, hopefully that will work and you'll become a supplier to us. We also have an ecosystem of other parties, hotel companies, airports, other airlines, ground transportation. We will introduce you to all of those people. I will get you 10 customers. Customers are good because revenue is good. Revenue is non-dilutive. You don't give up percentage of your company if you get revenue. The other thing that I can do is be a translator for you. You want to bring this product to the market, I can tell you who tried to do it previously, why that worked or why it didn't work. I can tell you what the regulator is going to think about it, how you'll be able to convince them that this is the right thing to do. And I can tell you the steps that you need to take to get there. All of those things you may not know because travel is like an iceberg. All of us travel, but do you know how the nuts and bolts of the system actually work as you take that plane? Probably not unless you're an av geek. I can explain to you why that works. We have 5 investment themes because to have such a large industry as travel and transportation and just go there blindly would be impossible. I'll give you the 5 very quickly. The first is about the seamless customer journey. If you've ever had a journey where you had to change something because your flight was late, because your rental car wasn't available, because the hotel was overbooked, this is for you. This is a way of saying, let's use the data that already exists to find the right solution for you, change your plans, and the journey changes with your plans. One-stop shop, not having to call everybody else and try and work out what's going on. If you've ever been to the airport and you've gone up to the gate and said, why is my flight delayed? And showed them on your phone, and they're like, it isn't delayed. And you're like, it is delayed. That information comes from the airline. How do we make sure that that information gets to the person who's helping you so that they can anticipate your question, know who you are, and give you the right answer even before you ask it? The hidden iceberg of my world is maintenance and operations. I told you what the margins were just a moment ago on the passengers that we carry. If I can improve my margins by 0.5% per annum, they're going to make a statue up to me. What we do here is look for predictive maintenance, for additive manufacturing, for scheduling, routing, optimization of our systems to enable us, if there is a problem, to recover from it, but more importantly, to avoid the problems by being preventative, by doing things in advance such that there is no problem. The fourth one's about revenue and distribution. How do I get my product and service to you, the customer, such that you can easily find it wherever you might want it? Let's say you're going to an event and you need to book travel to that event. Maybe I can offer you my travel services on the website of the event organizer. But the important thing here is that I need to sell you what you want. I have a seat. I could sell you that seat. That's what airlines have been doing for 30 years online. But the reality is you want more than that. You want the journey. Let me sell you the journey. Airline retail needs to advance into the 20th century at least, and hopefully the 21st. And then the last one's around regional travel, and we saw Sanjay from Hyperloop. We have a premise that there are 3 big trends happening in this space: electrification, autonomy, and urbanization. Urbanization is more people living in cities. Autonomy is the ability to deliver products, services, vehicles without a pilot or a driver. Electrification is a way of powering them that is more cost efficient, more effective, and less polluting. Those things come together and you have the concept of the air taxi. It's very hard to build a level 4 or level 5 autonomous vehicle on the ground because you have pedestrians, other drivers, trees falling over, roadworks, people running into the street following their ball. None of that exists in the air. And by the way, there's a lot more air than there is road. So can you do automation, autonomy in the air first? You probably can. You've all heard of autopilot. That's where that comes from. So we believe that the future is about distribution of air, short hop, 200 miles or less, move around with an electric vehicle that takes 4 passengers in the air. Plenty of space up there. My job is saying no. I say no a lot, all the time. Last year, 4,000 companies, no, no, no. About 5 companies, yes. That's what venture capitalists do, but that's the way that you make sure that you're seeing everything out there that you should. And why did I say the view from 31,135 feet? This is an Embraer E190 live picture taken in the cockpit, possibly illegally. Not saying. Point is, if you look at the right-hand side in the middle, you'll see that the altimeter is at 31,135 feet. That's the view that we want to take of the future, looking out into the horizon, grounded in reality, and hopeful for an innovation or two that will make a difference to your lives and ours. Thank you very much.